Monolith in the past has created quite a few first-person shooter games, and it's just natural for us to want to try and utilize some things that we've learned in these past games. And so it was natural for us to gravitate towards making another first-person game. But we didn't want to go down that first-person shooter route. We had this concept of using a serial killer as a subject matter. So we were trying to come up with a way to marry those two elements together. Condemned is a trip down a downward spiral for our protagonist. He's an FBI agent who specifically works in the SCU, which is a serial crimes unit. So his job is to track serial killers, to track them, to understand them, to learn how they think, find them, capture them, and put them behind bars. Eventually we learn, or we start to explore elements of what makes a serial killer tick, what makes them violent, what makes them do the things that they do. And the story starts branching away from finding a serial killer, catching a serial killer, but to understand violence and where it comes from. The player gets to conduct an investigation, to unravel this mystery. Using forensic tools, they can track evidence, collect it, understand what that means, put these pieces together, come up with a result that will propel them even further. So they enter into these spaces that are dangerous, they get attacked. Oh my God, I need to grab this pipe right here to defend myself. The apprehension of a pending encounter, the tension that builds while you're chasing something when you're not fully understanding what you're chasing builds, that becomes perhaps even more important, more effective than the actual encounter when it does happen. We wanted the player to be immersed into the story and have that constantly reinforced. And so what the forensics accomplishes is that when you find a piece of evidence, you collect it, you send that raw data back to the lab. You have a friend that still believes in you back in the science lab. She does all the kind of scientific work, relays the results back to you, and between the two of you, you piece this story together. And so each piece you find, each step you take, you're getting this constant feedback on the story, and it just continuously builds on itself. We have a melee weapon component to our game that is also complements the firearms, more traditional kind of first-person firearm combat. But our melee is really special. It takes a system that typically is rather frustrating and in past projects hasn't quite been there. It hasn't introduced that raw, brutal, in-your-face kind of experience that tends to come along with that kind of encounter. So we spent a lot of time trying to just find ways to bring that out in our combat, in that first-person kind of perspective. And we have a lot of weapons the player can draw from. It's going to be easily over 20 weapons that the environment will let the player choose from. Everything from pipes to the boards with the nails and all that, to pulling locker doors off, ripping mannequin arms off of mannequins, ripping seats up, using sledgehammers and axes and crowbars and stuff like that. And some really special, fun weapons that we'll probably save for the player to discover. And just start beating each other silly with these things. And the AI also will use the same weapon group or same types of weapons. And they'll use it on the player, they'll use it on themselves, each other. I think what's going to attract people to this title will be, at first, the fact that it's a next-gen game. But once that step's been taken, I think they'll find a game that has taken a lot of different aspects of elements you've seen in movies, a lot of cinematic qualities, like from movies like Seven and 28 Days Later and Silence of the Lambs and perhaps even the X-Files, and created a game that has those kind of properties. And hopefully it's not one of those games that gets played a little bit, oh, that was cool. You're going to want to finish this because you're going to want to find out what's going on, and you just want to take the entire experience and have it.